introduce yourself and your favorite SQL keyword. Metro, my metro. Let's talk about the kind of more of a product analytics example. This is like more of like the actual meat of this presentation today. So, if you think about it from the perspective of, say, I'm trying to sell someone something, that funnel has the top of the funnel could be like, I pay Google so that I show up first on the Google search result, and then they see my link. That's going to be like the very first top of the funnel. And then maybe they click on that link, which would be the next layer, right? Then they visit my webpage, right? And then they sign up. They give me their email. That'll be the next layer. And then once they are in the website, then they will view the products, and then they find a product they like, and then they buy that product. That's the next layer. And then they use that product for a while, and they enjoy that product, and they get a lot of joy out of that product. That's going to be the next layer. And then the final layer is they love the product, and then they tell their friends about the product, and that's where you get that kind of like testimonial, and then they might want to buy again. So you get like a kind of a big, long kind of journey for anyone in that kind of product space. And you'll see we have so you have testimonial as kind of the final end of this process. Because you can think about like the percent of people. Because if you think about it this way, like, okay, on LinkedIn, right, I average like about 7 million impressions a month, right? And so you can think of like, okay, of those 7 million impressions in July when people were buying this boot camp, okay, how many of those are going to actually turn into testimonials, right? So it can be like maybe 20 or 30, maybe. If I'm lucky, 30 if y'all love me, right? And so it's like, what's 30 divided by 7 million? It's a pretty small fraction there. But that just goes to show that how these funnels have steep drop-offs in a bunch of different places. Obviously, the very steep drop-off here was the $1,300 that I asked y'all to pay, or the $1,800, right? That was like, because if it was free, there would be thousands and thousands of y'all in here, and that would not be as good, right? Because, or like, I mean, then that would not have as much of a steep drop-off. If I did a boot camp that was free, I bet I could get a couple more testimonials that way. But then I would starve. So it's a little bit, it's a tricky problem, right? So anyways, you have product analytics. This is a massive funnel. We're going to kind of, I have another funnel visualization for y'all we can kind of go over. So this is going to be the kind of the funnel that works with business. And I'm actually going to go into great detail here about how I have been thinking like a product manager when building out this bootcamp, and how I've been really trying to improve different areas of this bootcamp to make things better for y'all, and so that we can so that I can, because one of my goals, right, is I'm hoping that I can get as many, because right now everyone in this call, you are probably going to be, since it's like the 5th week of the boot camp, you're going to be between this purchased step and this engaged step. Most of y'all are going to be in the engaged step at this point, because if you're still tuning in to the live boot camps in week 5, you're pretty engaged, right? So I've already got y'all down to this like 4th step of the funnel, and I'm hoping that we can get get through the whole funnel here with y'all, as many as I can. And so this is a very common funnel that is just, it runs the world of business. And we're going to go over in the same way. We're going to go over that we went over the job application and like getting a job funnel. We're going to go over how this works essentially from a different angle, in more of a product analytics angle. So let's dig into it. Okay. So you have the top of the funnel. So one of the only reasons that y'all are in this bootcamp right now is because of something that I started 2.5 years ago. I started consistently getting impressions on LinkedIn because that's one of the beautiful things about organic reach in this current world that we live in. Is it's a great way that you can get awareness on what you do and who you are, and it can, generate you revenue, and it can help have you create more things, right? And so and keeping in mind that at every step in this funnel, you can run A/B tests, you can run experiments, you can do all sorts of analytics. And having analytics, A/B tests, and experiments, all that stuff, if you can do all of that, like at each step of this funnel, you're going to have a better time. So, for example, for impressions, there's going to be a couple different things here. I'm going to talk about paid impressions first, and then we can kind of go over other things. So one of the biggest things that you need to do when you are looking for, when you have a bunch of different channels that are spilling into your business, is that you need to track where people are coming from. So if you remember in some of the other labs that we worked on, there was that referrer column in my website analytics. And that is going to be the main way that I track that. I also track things a little bit, like that is not that great because that only tracks at the website level. Like I want to actually get to a point where instead I track at the content piece level so that I can do conversions and look at things more from like this piece of content's better than that piece of content sort of idea. So I can actually, on an ad by ad basis, I can actually look at things with a finer grain of detail. I do not have that detail right now. So what I can do right now with my impressions and conversion analytics is I can compare Twitter to LinkedIn to Instagram to TikTok, right, at the highest level, because I can compare those domains from the referrer, but I don't have the actual content links. So I can't compare like a LinkedIn post to another LinkedIn post. That is a future iteration on my analytics that I'm looking to do. So that's going to be the first type of experiment that you can do, is like really, it's not even really an experiment. It's more of like just an awareness. Because then if you have tracking all the way down to the piece of content, then you can compare conversion rates between that piece of content and another piece of content. And you can be like, okay, why did this piece do so much better? And then maybe it's something in the writing or the hook, or maybe someone else commented, or there was like some other kind of anomalous thing that was going on in those pieces, right? But anyways, for me, even at the high level that I have that, just the platform level. One of the things that taught me throughout my business was, so when I did this stuff, so I have 31,000 followers on TikTok, right? It's not like I'm small on TikTok. TikTok's my third biggest platform. And so when I was selling my course and I made a video on TikTok about my course and my bootcamp, nobody converted. Literally zero converted, even though I had the tracking and no one bought. And I was like, wow, TikTok, sad. Like Instagram converted great. On a percentage basis, Instagram was the best. Instagram converted better than LinkedIn, but LinkedIn converted the most because I just have such a big following on LinkedIn. But Instagram on a percentage basis actually was the best. And so I learned a lot just from about my own social media usage and my own social media powers, and like which platforms I need to invest more in. So after selling this bootcamp, I learned that like the platforms that I need to invest more in are LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Or X now, I guess is what it's called, but Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter. Those three platforms converted really well. And so that's one. Now, let's say I ran paid ads. I don't really do paid ads because like I don't necessarily think that like the ROI on them is worth it. But you could also imagine, okay, how much does it cost per click? Like You can iterate and experiment with the different creative art that you have, the different marketing art that you have, and you can see like, oh, people click on this more often than this, and then that makes our ad dollars go further. So you can kind of experiment with ad creatives, and then to understand like how to get more people to actually click and more people to actually convert. And again, like you want to put a channel tracking or a content creative tracking. Like I'm sure you've seen when you like click on a piece of content on Facebook, it has like this weird like UTM underscore source equals. It throws that in the URL, and then your URL is like really long and nasty. It's because like a lot of these platforms already do that for you automatically. LinkedIn's not one of them actually, but that's going to be your first kind of set of different experiments that you can run at the very highest level of the funnel. This is just to like, this is experimenting with how many eyeballs can I get on the thing that I'm building. And then it's like, okay, great. That means that some of them are hopefully converting to a sign up page or an email acquisition page. For a long time on LinkedIn, this is what I did to build my business was I said, sign up for my newsletter. And then I had a way to collect people's email. And I collected like 15,000. For a long time on LinkedIn, this is what I did to build my business was I said, sign up for my newsletter. And then I had a way to collect people's email. And I collected like 15,000 emails this way. And I never even sent a newsletter. And I remember people were getting mad because like I collected emails for like 18 months saying I was going to like start a newsletter. And people were like, so where's your newsletter, bro? I gave you my email. And like, I was like, it's coming. It's coming. And I mean, I actually did start it like about 2 months ago now. And so it's like actually a real thing now. But anyways, that was a big thing I did because I didn't have another offer at the time. I didn't have like a course to sell them or anything else. So I was like, well, I'm just going to collect their email so that I can contact them directly later on so that I don't have to do this step of the funnel with that user again. And that's another very important thing to remember is that like you really do want to set things up in place so that you can get people to they can start deeper in the funnel than where they're at. So obviously, when you're at this stage, there's going to be a bunch of things that you can do here. One of the big ones is going to be A/B testing your landing pages. I'm sure y'all remember in the lab on Monday, we covered how to do that with StatSig on like how to do a blue button or a green button or a yellow button and like trying different kind of experiences. Obviously, you can change the text and the colors and the designs and all that stuff as well. As a data engineer, you probably want to work with a front end person on that, unless you're also really good at HTML or something like that. But I don't know. There's not that many data engineers who are great at HTML. So landing pages, you want to optimize those to try to get them to convert to give you their email. And that's all. This second step is not even about anything else. It's not about getting them to sign up for anything really. It's about, can I get a contact point from them? Whether most likely email, maybe SMS if you're being like a weird company. Another thing that you're going to want to test here, and this is like less of an experiment and more of an optimization, is your page speed. So page speed. The last piece of experiments that you really want to run on this like first initial contact point with your customer is going to be responsiveness, which is like, okay, can we cut our conversion by tablet or by PC, tablet, or phone? And does it look good on all of them? And that's where, like, if you optimize for page speed and optimize for responsiveness, then you're going to get the widest percent of users, both from the angle of it looking good and for it performing well. Because if you optimize for page speed, that almost always means that your page is going to be less data. And the less data you send, even for worse devices, it's still going to work pretty well, even on bad devices, or even on like, not bad devices, like old devices. It's still going to work pretty well. And then you can optimize for a wider range of people. Because remember that not everyone in the world runs on an iPhone 14 with the best specs, right? There's a lot, like, that's not even the average. That's like the top 10% of the world uses that. So this is the first piece of the funnel. We're at top of the funnel here. So that's how you can get down to, at this point, now at this point, we have an email. We have an email for people that we can then contact them directly. We no longer have to pray that the LinkedIn algorithm shows my content to them anymore, and we can just contact them directly. Okay, so now we have middle of the funnel. This is going to be where you are going from signups to purchases, right? That's going to be a big kind of step. That is the next kind of step of this puzzle. So purchases are going to be an interesting one because of a couple different things. The experiments in purchase are trickier because of the fact that like you have more risk when you're like fiddling with stuff. Like, for example, if I was like, hey, everyone, you can get 80% off my bootcamp right now. Like, some of y'all on this call would be like, can I get that discount? Right. And it's like, so you kind of, like, some of your pricing experiments can run a risk of upsetting current customers. So you want to be careful about how you are doing that. I even remember some of y'all on this call would be like, can I get that discount? Right. And it's like, so you kind of, like, some of your pricing experiments can run a risk of upsetting current customers. So you want to be careful about how you are doing that. I even remember, like, during this bootcamp, this is something, I think Divya might be on this call, but I think Divya is someone who is in this bootcamp. And like, when I released the self-paced course, I recognized that the combined version, I priced it at the wrong point. And I priced it too low, and a couple of y'all in the bootcamp called that out, and you were like, "Why can they get all of the content for less?" And so I actually ended up raising the price before anybody bought, though. Now, and that's why I was grateful for y'all, because I ended up raising the price a little bit to make all to make the pricing structure fair for everyone. And so that's a very important thing to remember. But at the same time, like, when, depending on where you're at, like, there is, and what you're selling, pricing is a little bit more flexible. Like, for example, at Airbnb, right, they have their own pricing stuff. They have AI and ML that sets a lot of prices. And so they have to understand elasticities. So elasticity is essentially, the more you raise prices, the fewer people will buy. But also, it's also true the other way around. The more you lower prices, the more people will buy. And so there's usually a sweet spot in the middle there where you optimize for like the integral of purchases times price. And that's going to be like where you are going to make the most money. But not necessarily. That can also, like, you know, for example, if you're like Rolex, I highly doubt that the integral for them of like charging $50,000 for a watch is the right place to go. They're not Walmart, right? They're not going for volume, right? They're going for margin. And so, like, it really does depend on your strategy as a company as well. So, pricing can be a big thing. And also remember on the pricing page, right? So this is something that I did, and I'm curious what y'all are gonna think about this. But I don't know if y'all have ever heard of like the decoy strategy before, like because you know at Starbucks, like a lot of times, like how it works is like if you have small, medium, large, like the small is 4, the medium's 550, and then the large is 6, and then it's like you get the large every time, like because it's like the pricing structure is stupid. The pricing structure is really weird, right? And so for me, that was like I had a pricing strategy that I put in place in this bootcamp that was way more successful than I thought it was going to be. Actually, it was like because I thought like initially when I came up with like the different tracks, like the analytics, infrastructure, and combined tracks for this bootcamp, I thought that most people were going to buy a single track, and no, I think it's 65% of you bought the combined track, and it makes sense because y'all are smart. Because if you look at the per hour basis of the content, if you buy a single track, the content is $30 an hour. If you buy the combined track, the content is $18 an hour. So you get a way better the per hour basis of the content. If you buy a single track, the content is $30 an hour. If you buy the combined track, the content is $18 an hour. So you get a way better deal because it's only because the way you think about it is like it's only $500 more for double the content. So it's like really like 1,800. Like if it was on the dollar for dollar basis, it should have been 2,600. But y'all like were smart and like you saw that like, oh yeah, this is going to be a lot more content and I'm going to learn a lot more by buying the combined track. And that was the whole point. Is that because I wanted people to be invested. I wanted people to feel like they were getting the best option. I wanted people to buy the large, right? And so that's where when you're thinking about pricing and thinking about how you're going to build your products, like thinking about like how you want to nudge people to buy something, like is definitely one of the things that is an important thing to do. Because I personally think that like that's the right way to go. Like and like because then it also gives people options. Because I also recognize that like $1,300 and $1,800 is like not cheap. So I wanted people to be able to get in at a lower price point if that like served them. So that's kind of the idea behind pricing and how you can kind of fiddle with pricing to, you know, get what you want out of to change customer behavior even. Okay. So now we are getting deeper into the funnel here. Now at this point, y'all have bought. So thank you. Like y'all have made it this deep into the funnel of my bootcamp, and you have the pricing structure, elasticities. Y'all learned about that. Most of y'all bought the large. And then you want to get them engaged and retained. So a big part of that is onboarding, getting a smooth onboarding process. Something things that I tried to implement there were like the intake form to get people into groups. I also got people onto the GitHub as quickly as I could, and also got people like in the Discord chatting and starting to build community. And that was, I feel like, mostly a win. Later on, this is something I'm not doing right now. It's something I'm implementing. My developers are implementing. This is not as important for the bootcamp, but for self-paced people, it's very important. Is notifications to kind of if someone hasn't done anything in the bootcamp in like I don't know a week or two, we're gonna try to get them back by sending them an email and being like, "Yo, like come watch a lab," and kind of getting people more retained that way. Another thing here is around schedule. Schedule is an interesting one. I think schedule can be very good, or like I like having a predictable schedule. I think that that's a very important thing of like, oh, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, and we're like going through it and having that kind of piece of the puzzle. And then also keeping y'all engaged through content, right? And content's a big thing. And then another part of the schedule piece that I think has been important, and it's one of the other things of why I make the Q&A on Thursdays. I make that exclusive is because I want y'all to stay on schedule too. I don't want y'all to just be like, oh, I'm just going to not do the homework, or like, oh, I'm just going to do the homework on the last minute. And it's like, no, I want to incentivize y'all to like do the homework like on time, so that it feels like you don't have to cram, and that like you retain it better, and like so that you can have more retention, like because that is the goal here. I'm trying to make you guys better data engineers. So that's kind of the idea behind the retention part of this funnel. It's a very important piece of the funnel. I think it's one of the most overlooked pieces. This is the piece where you go from, okay, you acquired a customer to you delighted a customer. And customer delight is one of the most important parts of building a successful product. That is, I think that's like a Jeff Bezos quote or something like that. So we have, that's essentially the retention part of the funnel. Then we have the last piece here. We have where we go from engagement to referral and testimonial. So there's a couple things here, I think, of like how do you do that, all right? Where it's like you have someone who's engaged, you have someone who is doing the effort, they're doing the job, they're doing the homework, right? They're doing all the things, they're doing what they're supposed to do, right? And they're doing the program. Well, like, to really have someone go from engaged to testimonial or engaged to referral is you need to impact their life in a way, more than just giving them knowledge. You need to like really shift them in some way, like giving them a network, giving them a mentor, giving them. That's one of the big things that why I added the mentorship program into the bootcamp, is because I know that is going to be at least as valuable as this bootcamp is right now, because one-on-one mentorship is incredibly valuable, especially with the talented people that you're going to be paired up with. So that is something to really think about. And because one of my goals is like, I am not here to teach you data engineering. I'm here to make you a data engineer. And those are different. Right. Those are like, because one of them is like, oh, cool, that's nice. It's like reading it from a book. Right. And the other one is like, no, I'm actually doing it. I'm writing the SQL. I'm writing the pipelines. I have the job. I'm making the money. Right. And that's like a very, those are different, very different. And some other things that you want to think about here when you're converting from engaged to testimonial is you also want to be thinking about LTV, like the lifetime value of that testimonial, of like, okay, this person like loves the content and like is all about it, and it's like, how much value am I going to get from that, like myself, and how does that kind of perpetuate into the business? And that's one of the things that I think is important to recognize when you are if you're working in a high margin business like what I'm working in, like is like, okay, how much am I investing back into my students and stuff like that? Because then it's like, okay, is that like, because the way I look at it, like long term, like the mentorship program, I actually look at, yeah, I know I'm investing some money into that, but like I actually think I'm gonna get paid back. So like I'll make money from it. Actually, I'm gonna make money from it. So, and like it'll be awesome. And so, and because one of the big things I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to build a community. I'm trying to build kind of an apparatus of a way to get people to learn the skills, learn what they need to learn, and then get mentors who can get them to the next level. Because you need mentors who can then kind of, because obviously I'm speaking to like 50 of you right now, and I'm personally, I don't think I would be a good mentor for all of you. There's going to be some of you who like, you disagree with how I see the world, and that's totally okay. And like, but that means that like my career advice might not stick with you as well as someone who is a little bit more personalized to you. And that's actually what I'm going to be doing in the next couple of weeks, is I'm going to be adding a personalized mentorship kind of intake form, where there'll be, so like just how we did group matching based on like time zone and stuff like that, we're going to have do mentorship matching as well. And that will be another thing that will be kind of added into this program as we go forward here. So anyways, that is the next piece of the puzzle, is to get people to go all the way down the funnel. And then, because then they become your brand champions, and then you don't have to market anymore. Because at that point, you have so many people that love what you do, and they have such a profound appreciation for what you're doing and for what you did in their life, that you the boot camp or whatever thing you're making sells itself at that point, because you have word of mouth, and you have that person tells their friends, and that person tells their friends. I'm already seeing that. I know y'all are telling your friends, because like I'm not doing any marketing right now, and I'm still selling self-paced courses. I'm still selling like a couple self-paced courses a day. And so like I know y'all are doing it right now even, right? So thank you for marketing for me. I appreciate it a lot. So anyways, that is the funnel. And one of the things I'm trying to talk about here with funnel stuff is you'll notice that like a lot of what I talked about there is there's metrics. Every single one of those steps has a metric that you can measure, right? And just like what I was talking about before, where it's like if we go all the way back to impressions, like okay, or go back to this slide here, right? So we have the top of the funnel here of impressions, and like how many people actually make it down to this bottom one, right? It goes from like millions to like tens, and that's like a steep drop off. But then that's how you find your tribe, and you find your people, and you find the people who really really care about what you're doing. So, anyways, that's kind of like when you're thinking about how to be a product manager, this is the kind of stuff that you should be thinking about as a data engineer as well, because one of the things is like if you're doing product analytics and you're a data engineer, you should be able, whatever metric you're coming up with, you should be able to come up with a cohesive story of like, where in this funnel does that metric play, right? I'll just give a couple examples here real quick. So for example, you should be able to come up with a cohesive story of like, where in this funnel does that metric play, right? I'll just give a couple examples here real quick. So for example, I worked in notifications at Facebook. So notifications is part of the retention step, right? Because that's how you bring people back. That's how you get people engaged. And that's how you get people to really keep using your product, right? Another one that I worked on at Facebook was friending. So friending is going to be also in the retention step, right? Because the more friends you have on Facebook, the more likely it is that you come back. So another area I worked on was NPX, which is new user experience. New user experience was actually more in this like signups and email acquisition, because that was a lot around like measuring the effectiveness of ads. But then it was like, it kind of bled between the two. It was between the email acquisition and the engaged retained, because Facebook conveniently doesn't have this purchase step because it's free, right? So they go immediately from sign up to a retention problem. And they have a purchase step on the other side, right? On the ads side. And that's a great example of like, for them, it's like when an advertiser purchases an ad, that's going to be the middle of this, right? And that's where Facebook is a crazy, crazy product, because of the fact that they actually have two funnels, right? They have a funnel for users and a funnel for advertisers, and they have to deal with both of them. And they have like this kind of like two-sided thing. So one of the things I like about this bootcamp is that it's just one funnel, right? Because the other side is just me. I've thought about it in the future of like how I might want to do this, where I have like a set of educators and a set of students, and like kind of essentially taking kind of the platformized like Facebook approach to things. But right now it's me. So anyways, you can see that like if you're a data engineer and you're creating metrics for product analytics, if it doesn't fit in this funnel anywhere, then it's most likely a waste of time. That's like straight up like that's my perspective, right? Is like if you're not like building something that fits into this funnel, it's probably a waste of time. There are some minor exceptions there, but then like you wouldn't be a product data engineer anymore. Like for example, if you're working on like infrastructure efficiency, where it's like you're measuring the efficiency of the infrastructure, or like how quickly or how fast things are made, or how much AWS dollars you're spending, that really doesn't fit into the funnel, because it's not really a part of the user experience. It is in the fact that it raises, essentially what it does is it raises the cost to acquire a customer, like the CTA, cost to acquire. I think that's also call to action, but it's kind of both. So in that case, it would impact the signups, right? Because you would have kind of the cost to acquire that customer, and then that would be the metric that the additional infrastructure cost would then impact in this funnel. So that's a big thing to remember. Think about everything that you do in product analytics. Always be thinking about funnels, because if you're thinking about these funnels, you're going to impact the business way more, and then it will also help you put your work into context and help you build more robust data models that can help illustrate this funnel and illustrate this user journey in a more salient and effective way. So yeah, product analytics is tough, but like if you think about it as a funnel, it's a little bit easier. Okay, one is like how to think like a product manager. There's really only one question that you really want to be thinking about here as a data engineer. There's more in the product management space than this, but at every step of the funnel, thinking about what is causing pain, what is sparking joy. And if you can think about that, of like what is causing pain and what is sparking joy through every step of your user journey, and you try to optimize for joy and minimize pain, then you will be a lot more effective product manager. And I'm going to go over some more examples like within the bootcamp. I know this like presentation feels kind of meta where I'm giving a presentation about the bootcamp in the bootcamp, but I hope y'all are getting some value out of this. So let's talk about some examples here from the bootcamp. So from that top level, right? So I'm talking about impressions, or maybe I'm talking about the prospective student. So one of the things that sparked joy in some of y'all was my content on LinkedIn, TikTok, or Instagram about data engineering. And y'all probably were like, wow, I'm learning a lot. I think this guy knows his stuff. I think I can trust him with teaching me. And that was a big thing that y'all did. And some of y'all even took it a step further, and you wanted deeper knowledge from me, and you signed up for my newsletter at some point in the last 2 months. And that's where I now have your email, and I was able to connect with you on a deeper, more personal level. So these are examples for me of things that I did right, that sparked joy, that brought customers to me, that were a big part of the user journey, that helped me build a bigger and more successful bootcamp. So then you have the new student build a bigger and more successful bootcamp. So then you have the new student. So when you paid your $1,000 or whatever, your $1,000-ish dollars, one of the things that people got was you got immediate access to all of the videos. You could easily look at, I mean, there was, I started at the beginning of the bootcamp, I think there was 10. I had all the first 2 weeks of data modeling from V1 and all the interview presentations that I did. And so you got immediate access to that content, and that was something that probably sparked joy in a lot of you, because you're like, wow, I got my money's worth. And there were, on the other side, was the hiccups around getting y'all added to the GitHub and getting y'all added to the deeper level of the content and getting you on Discord, and that stuff not being automated and that being like a very manual, painful process. That was something that did not spark joy. I don't know, I'm sure y'all have seen that meme of that like Asian lady who's like, this sparks joy. This does not spark joy. You know what I'm talking about? Like I always, like when I'm in my product manager like headspace, that Asian lady is like in my head the entire time. I needed to have, I should have put that meme in here. That's, oh man, that's going to be in the next, in V3. That is definitely going to be in this presentation. So you think of like, okay, I'm thinking about the new student. This is one thing that sparked joy and one thing that sparked pain. Okay, what about engaged students? So I think another thing that sparked joy was getting everyone into groups so that you could have a kind of a group of people that you felt were going through the same trials and tribulations as you. And so you could feel less alone. And then also you feel happy when you're going to be matched with a mentor, because you feel like this whole bootcamp was worth it, because you're like, wow, I can't believe I listened to Zach talk for 60 hours. That's a lot of Zach. And now I get to have a mentor who's going to help me maybe get a referral to places or learn about interview skills or whatever things you want to learn from that mentor. You can get that from them. And I think a place that I messed up in for the engaged students, which is going to be most of you, is I think this bootcamp has been a lot. I've learned, I mean, this bootcamp has even been a lot for myself, like in coming up with the content and talking with you all every day. And one of the things I've learned is that, like, I think in the next bootcamp, I will scale it back just a little bit. I think that I will not do quite as many lectures. It will be, I think, still 6 weeks, but I'm going to condense some of these lectures and compact them down and kind of focus more a little bit deeper on quality and not quite as much on quantity, because I think that will help y'all feel less overwhelmed from the intensity of the bootcamp. But on the flip side, I appreciate y'all showing up and coming to all of these lectures, because I think that is also, it shows that you can do hard things. And I really do appreciate your engagement here. So that's kind of when I was thinking about the pain and joy of my bootcamp students. That's a big thing I was thinking about. And then on the last one, it's like, okay, I think for the referral and testimonial, I think it's when one of my students lands a better job from the skills they learned here, they're going to be very happy. They're going to be very grateful. They're going to freaking tell all their friends, and they're going to like love it. And that's going to be like the big part of this user journey, because I'm trying to build a sustainable business here where like I change lives every 6 weeks, or not every 6 weeks, but a couple times a year for 6 weeks I change lives, right? And I can get people to like really level up and get inspired by how they can kind of build things. But so the idea here is, you can see one of the things, the skill set here is I'm a data engineer, right? I'm not a product manager. I have never been a product manager. That's not my cup of tea. Most of this skill set, like where I learned this skill set, is by building startups and failing. Where I learned this from like building the Magic the Gathering app and from building Art Lineup and all these other startups that I created and failed at. And I learned a lot about like customers and the customer journey and joy and sadness and all that stuff from that angle. And you do want to, like, these are both important. Like, you do want to like have this strategy. So I just gave you my strategy of like how I'm thinking about the bootcamp and how I've been thinking about how I've been a product manager throughout this bootcamp journey, and not just because I could have just been a lecturer, right? And been like, okay, this is what you bought. Thanks, bye. Right. And been like kind of thinking about it from that angle of like, okay, I'll give them exactly what they ask for, and that's it, and not try to delight anybody. And I don't know, that's not the way to go, though. That's not how you build a legacy. But that's like kind of like, that's where being a product manager, though, and like, or not necessarily being a product manager, but like thinking about things like a product manager can make your data engineering skill set a lot better, because now each one of these things, every single one of these things is a metric, right? Where it's like here, it's like, okay, like one of these metrics is like, okay, how many people are converting from LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram, right? And how many people are signing up to my newsletter? Easy metrics to track, right? Okay, here is like, okay, how many people are buying the bootcamp and then watching a video immediately, right? And then also, how many people are buying the bootcamp and then messaging me about not having access to GitHub, right? Within a day or X number of days or whatever, right? Those are two metrics, easy to track, right? Here, okay, how many people are doing the group work, right? That's another metric that we can easily track. Okay, how many people are actually showing up to the mentorship sessions? That is something that I am tracking. I'm going to have all my mentors track. And then also, how many people are dropping out of the bootcamp? That was something I actually had an initial indicator that the bootcamp might be too intense in week 2 when I had that refund deadline, and I think like about 8 people dropped out, and so then that was I was like, wow, this is going to be a lot. Metric, right? Here, how many people land a job and change their lives? Another metric, because I know if they land a better job, they're going to tell me about it, and I'll have that metric. Obviously, that will be like that'd be a crazy data pipeline, right? Where it's like I have it like parse all my DMs, and it's like an LLM model to see like, oh, this person got a new job because of the bootcamp, and then it like adds a row, right? That would be crazy. That'd be so crazy. But anyways, metrics, definitions, funnels, thinking about things like a product manager. These are how you build beautiful, amazing products, and this is how you make a business better. right? Or make a business from nothing. That's what I did. I mean, I made this business from nothing, and like I know that this business is going to be wildly successful. So, and a big thing, a big part of that is thinking about each step of the user journey and how they are feeling. Think about emotions, empathy. It's important stuff. Okay. So we're almost out of time here. At least like this is the last slide. This is what we're gonna do for the homework this week. Is you're gonna pick a product that you love using, whether that be like LinkedIn, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. So I want you to do that. I want you to describe the user journey of that product from when you signed up. Like, what about the product when you signed up were things that you liked, and like, why did you sign up initially? And then also, why are you coming back? Why are you staying engaged? And also, if you spend money, like why? Like what are the things that cause you to spend more money, like on that product? Like I want you to talk just in detail about that. I expect like a couple paragraphs. This is not like a small amount of work here. And then the last step of the homework for this week is I want you to then describe 3 experiments you would like to run on this product to see if it would improve the experience. So, and this is going to be, you're going to detail out the allocation of each test cell and the different conditions you're testing. Like, for example, I'm going to do 50% test, 50% control, and I want to change this aspect of it or this aspect of it. And try to be creative here. Don't just be like, I want to make the button red or blue. Not like the basic examples I was giving in the labs, but like really try to put on your product manager hat there and think about like, oh, this is what I'm going to do differently, or I'm going to do, I want to change this aspect of it, or like I've always been annoyed by this feature and I want to change it in this way. And then the last thing is like, I want a hypothesis from each experiment about like what you think would change or which metrics you think would change, like the leading and lagging metrics. And just assume that you have access to every metric in the world because you're probably going to pick a product that has all of the metrics in the world anyways. So, and just think about like which metrics you think are going to change, like either drop or raise, and really think about like potentially what could go wrong in the experiment as well.